For 12D, we are going to talk about actually testing our hypothesis. So we're going to start with what we did in 12C. Draw and label with critical regions, remember that's the CR, and critical values, which is the CV, or multiple CVs. And remember for that, we're going to use the alternate hypothesis. Always, we're going to use the alternate hypothesis. After that, we're going to find the z-score using this formula. So PO is the number in the hypotheses. So if your hypotheses, like the very last example from example 3 from 12C said that P is not equal to 0.82, this number right here would be your P0. Okay. All right. P hat is the sample proportion. We talked about that in 12A. All right. So here's what you're going to do for your analysis sentence. This is important. This is the big stuff that you need to make sure you know how to do. Because the z-score, then you're going to choose one of these. Either is or is not in the critical region. That's why we have to draw a picture first and label where that is. Then we will either reject or fail to reject our null. So there is or is not sufficient evidence for the alternate. Okay, so the critical region is the part where we're critical of the null hypothesis. And I want to make sure that you remember that you already started by writing your null and alternate, and you wrote your P in words so that you can add context to your sentence. Okay, so this is kind of the breakdown of what is happening. If Z falls in your critical region, because remember we have a critical value right here, we know what it is. So if Z is on the side of the critical value where it is in the critical region, then we're going to be critical of the null and we are going to reject the null, right? Null is no. Remember that the null and alternate are opposites. So that means there is sufficient evidence for H1. Okay, we're never going to actually support it, but we're going to say, yeah, it could be true. And then we will actually talk about what does this mean. Okay, so then talk about your claim in context. All right, that's an important part, whichever way it goes. So if the z-score is not in the critical region, and the z-score I'm talking about is the one that you get from this formula. If the z-score is not in the critical region, you are going to fail to reject. We never support. We just either say nope or well, maybe. We fail to reject our null, which means there is not sufficient evidence for H1, the alternate. These are always going to be the opposite of each other. Okay.